This was bound to happen. Kenya has officially begun talks to electrify the standard gauge railway from Mombasa all the way to Malaba. This comes at a point Uganda is planning to start construction of an electric SGR line. Yes, we asked a simple question. When Kenya started the construction of the SGR, will it be electrified? But later, we understood that Kenya was focused on a diesel-powered SGR line. But you see, things are changing. We have a situation where Uganda already is planning to build an electrified one. So, there is no way Kenya can operate diesel-powered SGR line. And Uganda and other countries like Tanzania and Ethiopia run an electrified line. So, to have seamless operations, Kenya is also forced to electrify its SGR line. And that is why people have been raising question. Why should a country like Kenya focus on a diesel-powered SGR line? When you look at its capacity to produce more power, it definitely shocks why Kenya chose diesel-powered SGR line. Now Kenya's installed capacity is about 4,000. And to be exact, it is 3,840. And out of the 3,192 megawatt is connected to the grid. Out of Kenya's installed capacity of 3,840, 600 plus megawatt is produced privately, maybe by industries for their manufacturing or to support their economic activities. Now, when you look at Ethiopia, it has installed capacity of 5,000 megawatts. Uganda has installed capacity of about 2,000 megawatts, while Tanzania has installed capacity of about 4,000 megawatts. But you see, Kenya has an advantage here. When you look at Kenya's energy mix, you realize that we have geothermal, hydropower, wind, and solar. But when you look at these other countries like Ethiopia, Ethiopia's power is majorly hydropower. In fact, 90% of their power or installing capacity is hydropower. That means Ethiopia is vulnerable. You look at Tanzania, it's majorly known for gas, hydropower, and all that. So these countries are really vulnerable, including Uganda. Uganda is majorly hydropower. But Kenya has an energy mix that everyone can just admire. And when you look at Kenya's geothermal capacity, you'll realize that we have a lot of capacity. We can produce enough energy. Kenya just needs between 150 megawatts and 250 megawatts, which, to be honest, Kenya can afford. Or alternatively, Kenya would have at least made a step to have that energy just to power the SGR line. But Kenya did not take that route at the end of it. Kenya ended up with diesel-powered SGR line. Also, there is something you need to understand. Changing diesel-powered or converting diesel-powered SGR into electric rail system will obviously be expensive. And to be honest, that is needed so that Kenya and other East African countries can have one continuous electric corridor. Now, this is what will happen if Kenya keeps its diesel-powered SGR line. It means that all these goods going to Uganda and South Sudan will use the diesel locomotives. And once they reach the Kenya-Uganda border, they will be forced to offload and load again the goods to be transported to electric locomotives. And this is not good for logistics. There will be time wasted, so meaning the efficiency these countries are looking for will not be achieved to a level they want. So to make things easier, Kenya has to electrify its SGR because Yapi Mackenzie, that is the company that will be building Uganda's electric SGR line, is actually telling Kenya, you know what, you need a seamless operations. So you just have to invest and make sure you electrify your SGR. Electric SGR line will definitely be faster, where we shall have to reduce even the hours spent on using this diesel-powered line. In fact, If it is electrified, it means we are likely to travel from Mombasa to Nairobi in just 3 hours. So that is something Kenya should pursue, and it is possible. But again, when you look at the cost of converting diesel-powered SGR into electric rail system, it is a lot of money. Let's break it down a little bit. Kenya will have to spend about $2 billion. That is about 250 billion Kenyan shillings to electrify its SGR. Because Kenya will be forced to acquire electric locomotives. Kenya will be forced again to install some power lines and all that. So it comes to a total of 250 billion Kenyan shillings. You can imagine this is an extra cost. But when you look at how much Uganda is going to spend on building this SGR line, that is from Malaba to Kampala, is about 350 billion Kenyan shillings, and it's a distance of 272 kilometers. Kenya has to electrify its SGR because you also need to look at it this way. Ethiopia, Tanzania, and now Uganda will have an electrified SGR line. Why not Kenya? And Kenya is considered to be the regional hub of East Africa. You see, so it makes sense for Kenya to just electrify its SGR. I understand that Kenya didn't electrify last time because Kenya felt they don't have enough energy. Kenya also thought it would have been more expensive. But you see now, Kenya will incur an extra cost of 250 billion Kenyan shillings, which is not small money for such an economy like Kenya. And this was very avoidable in the first place. I understand it will be very expensive for Kenya to do this expansion, especially at a time when Kenya is struggling, even to address issues around funding of SGR extension. Kenya wants more highways, and all that requires funding. But when you look at Kenya in terms of its economy, it's not growing as fast as people would have expected. At the same time, Kenya is struggling with debts, and here again, we have more expenses coming in. But let's wait and see how Kenya is going to handle this, because for system compatibility, Kenya definitely has to electrify its SGR. What is even fortunate is that the SGR extension from Naivasha to Malaba hasn't even started, despite the launch. So meaning, moving forward, Kenya will definitely have to sit down and make sure that its line is extended and electrified. Kenya has the ability to produce enough energy to support its electrified SGR. They got plans to build a 1,200 megawatt of liquefied natural gas plant, and also another plan to build a 2,000 megawatts of nuclear energy, and other plans to produce more hydropower and all that. So Kenya has no much of excuse as far as electrifying its SGR. Thank you for watching till the very end. Be sure to like, share and subscribe to Mambo Africa. We are on a road to 10,000 subscribers. Until next time, see you on our next video.